Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Questions President Trump tried to shake for months aren't going anywhere.
An independent investigation into the Trump campaign and the Trump administration's relationship to Russia.
What, if any, collusive links exist now or existed earlier?
A man who publicly admires and now very possibly colludes with Vladimir Putin?
Were there U.S. persons that were helping the Russians in any way? Was there any form of collusion?
I think the Russians participated in helping this man get elected.
He's under active investigation with talk of impeachment growing louder by the day.
Deep personal, political, and financial ties that Donald Trump and people in his family, in his businesses, and on his campaign had with a foreign adversary in Russia.
This morning, the Washington Post reporting that a secret CIA report found Russia interfered in the U.S. election to help Donald Trump win the White House.
Hillary Clinton saw a Putin connection.
The grand godfather of this global brand of extreme nationalism is Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Kremlin, meaning Putin and the Russian government, are directing the attacks, the hacking on American accounts to influence our election.
This has come from the highest levels of the Russian government, clearly from Putin himself.
You've seen that movie, The Manchurian Candidates, yeah? It's about a Russian mole who's brainwashed to run for president. Trump is like if the Manchurian Candidate ran as the Manchurian Candidates.
Scum! Who are beholden to scum! Russian scum!
At what point do you start to wonder if there is a fire to all this smoke?
I would characterize it this way at the outset of the investigation. There is circumstantial evidence of collusion.
Comey will dispute President Trump's blanket claim that he was told 3 times that he was not under investigation by Jim Comey.
I've learned, my colleagues Eric Lichtblau and Jay Tapper, we've all learned that, in fact, that Comey is going to dispute the president on this point. If he is asked about it by senators, and we have to assume that he will be, he will say that he never assured Donald Trump that he was not under investigation.
It could be years before the investigation's complete. Until then, its cloud hangs over the Trump administration, the shadow of Russia looming.
President Putin, you have repeatedly and passionately denied that Russia was behind the interference with our American presidential election. But as you know, the consensus view in the United States is that you did. Are they all lying?
They have been misled.
The assumption of the critics of the president, of his pursuers, you might say, is that somewhere along the line in the last year, the president had something to do with colluding with the Russians, something to do with the helping hand, encouraging them, feeding their desire to affect the election in some way. Some role they played, some conversation he had with Michael Flynn or Paul Manafort or somewhere. And yet what came apart this morning was that theory.
How many times do I have to answer this question?
Can you just say
Russia
yes or no
is a ruse. I know you have to get up and ask a question, so important. Russia is a ruse.
I gather from all of this that you're willing to say now that while you were director, the President of the United States was not under investigation. Is that a fair statement?
That's correct.
All right, so that's a fact that we can rely on.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We keep talking about this cloud. You perceive the cloud to be the Russian investigation in general.
Yes, sir.
But his specific ask was that you would tell the American people what you had already told him, what you had already told the leaders of Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, that he was not personally under investigation.
Yes, sir.
In fact, he was asking you to do what you have done here today.
Correct. Yes, sir.
President Trump
is absolutely and totally vindicated yet again. This thing is a giant hoax, a giant galactic-sized fraud. But notice, if you just tuned in the middle of that, you heard Hillary saying that the grandfather of nationalism, the grandfather of movements for countries to be free and for countries to be open. Think about that. Is Vladimir Putin. That's not true. I want to go to Mike Cernovich. We've got on the line here in just a moment. But first, Sessions versus Senator Creepy Man Wyden. He absolutely destroys him here. Here is the clip.
They are none, Senator Wyden.
Yeah, get him, Sessions.
I can tell you
get that fish out of water, Ron Wyden.
Now, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, in your prepared statement, you stated you received only, quote, limited information necessary to inform your recusal decision. But given Director Comey's statement, we need to know what that was. Were you aware of any concerns at the FBI or elsewhere in government about your contacts with the Russians or any other matters relevant to whether you should step aside from the Russian investigation?
Senator Wyden, I am not stonewalling. I am following the historic policies of the Department of Justice. You don't walk into any hearing or committee meeting and reveal confidential communications with the President of the United States, who's entitled to receive confidential communications in your best judgment about a host of issues, and have to be accused of stonewalling for not answering them. So I would push back on that. Secondly, Mr. Comey, perhaps he didn't know, but I basically recused myself the first day I got into the office because I never accessed files. I never learned the names of investigators. I never met with them. I never asked for any documentation. The documentation, what little I received, was mostly already in the media and was presented by the senior ethics, public responsibility, professional responsibility attorney in the department.
General,
and I made an honest and proper decision to recuse myself, as I told Senator Feinstein and the members of the committee I would do when they confirmed me.
General Sessions, respectfully, you're not answering the question.
Well, what is the question?
The question is, Mr. Comey said that there were matters with respect to the recusal that were problematic and he couldn't talk about them. What are they?
Why don't you tell me? They are none, Senator Wyden. There are none. I can tell you that for absolute certainty. This is a secret innuendo being leaked out there about me, and I don't appreciate it. And I've tried to give my best and truthful answers to any committee I've appeared before, and it's really people are suggesting through innuendo that I have been not honest about matters, and I've tried to be honest.
My time is short. You've made your point that you think Mr. Comey is engaging in innuendo. We're going to keep digging on this.
Well, Senator Wyden, he did not say that.
He said it was problematic, and I asked you what was problematic about it.
Some of that leaked out of the committee that he said in closed sessions.
Okay.
All right, folks. Again, we played the clip at the very start, if you tuned in, of Hillary saying the grandfather of nationalism. In fact, that piece is so powerful. If we have time, we'll air that at the end of the full 15 minutes of Sessions' opening statement we're going to play here in just a few minutes. But it is so powerful because nationalism just means cultures and people and independence. And here are the globalists saying if America has nationalism, it's Russia. Well, if Russia gives us nationalism and sovereignty and rule of law and lower taxes and prosperity, that's wonderful. But it's not Russia. Russia can barely run its own affairs. The globalists are the outside force that's hijacked the country. They're the ones working with radical Orthodox Islam. They're the ones trying to brainwash our kids. They're the ones trying to turn off our energy sources. They're the enemy. So coming up, I've got Sessions and Tom Cotton talking about the Mayflower Hotel meeting, which is the first foreign policy speech full of diplomats from all the major powers, thousands of people. And then they've got photos of 50, 60 feet apart. There's Jeff Sessions as a senator at the time, and there's the Russian ambassador, which is totally normal at a meeting of diplomats and senior leadership on intelligence committees. But that's their proof of all this evil activity. It's amazing. That's coming up. And then we, again, have Sessions and Kamala Harris getting in an argument. But this is just incredible. Let's go to Mike Cernovich, who I just called 15 minutes ago. He was driving out in California and was gracious enough to pop in to give us his unfiltered take, as it happens real time, as he says, with us. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Cernovich.
Yeah, the nationalism is an American ideal from Thomas Jefferson in 1776, the founding fathers. So this is just yet again Hillary Clinton's attack on our traditions as a nation and our tradition as American people. She hates America so much, and everybody with her does. Today's event with Sessions was a complete and total joke for the Democrats. Just like they got all hyped for the Comey thing, they lost, they were humiliated. I mean, there's no evidence. So here's what cracked me up is they always talk about how influential you are. Man, you don't talk to the Russians. You're a good old boy from Texas and a good old boy, Jeff Sessions, who grew up in the Cold War. The idea that some good old boy from the South who grew up during the Cold War is going to conspire with the Russians against America is absurd.
Now, Mike, expanding on that, where does this Russian narrative go? Because it's obviously a meme. They're never going to stop. They know it's totally fake. It's like our meme that Hillary was sick, which was actually based on intelligence and evidence and brain surgery and her being in the hospital for a year and how she looked. That meme turned out to be true, validating us. Their meme of Russia is actually what they were afraid of. The Podestas on the Russian payroll, Hillary secretly meeting with Putin. I mean, Megyn Kelly has more connections to Vladimir Putin than Donald Trump does. So where does this narrative go?
They doubled down on it. They've doubled down on a losing strategy because they do live in the echo chamber of the fake news media. But even Dianne Feinstein has said a couple days ago that there should be an investigation into Loretta Lynch, because if you people understand, because me, I don't know about you, Alex, but me, strictly from an amoral power position, I want the Democrats to keep on this Russia crap while Trump got jobs, first coal mine open in West Virginia, new jobs every day, new prosperity. So they look like they are a Don Quixote screaming at Russians everywhere. They look paranoid. They look unhinged. So I hope they keep this Russia stuff up.
I totally agree with you, except for one facet. I know you've got a lot of great sources, so give us any, obviously breaking intel if you've got it. Again, dangerandplay.com. He's also on the Medium. You can also follow him on Twitter. It's Mike Cernovich. Mike, they're going to COG. They're looking for new continuity of government. They're using the Russian narrative, at least with their own criminal teams in their own echo chamber, to create a criminal group that's willing to make a psychotic run physically at the president. They're preconditioning the public for Trump's assassination. They're psychologically inoculating people. So I agree. Liberals and others are committing political suicide. They're going crazy. They're like drunken toddlers. But they also have a larger plan. We need to be aware of it. What are your concerns dealing with their open bloodlust for Trump? I get it. We deliver on the economy. We restore the republic, $3 trillion in the stock market, turn the energy back on, secure the borders, deal with ISIS, kill TPP that's unelected, kill the carbon tax. It's beautiful. It's a dream come true. While that's all happening, they're getting more extreme with their Fantasyland ghost dance. So what's the downside, of these psychotics? Because even a bunch of crazed monkeys on PCP throwing balls of shit out of their cages could still cause some damage.
Well, they have normalized violence, and that is why they're creating the Shakespeare in the Park. That is designed to get the people imagining Trump being murdered, because that's a collective, as you know, that is Salva Crosby rituals. What they're trying to do is cast a spell on the public imagination and glamorize it. So, as you know, they're openly practicing witchcraft. against Trump. And that's why, the prayers of people are so important, because they are practicing that and they do want to kill him. They do want to kill all of us. I actually did a debate today on RT, which is more honest than CNN. And there was a liberal university professor who defended that play against Trump. And then he said during the show, well, I'm on 147th Street, Bronx. Why don't you come talk shit in my neighborhood? And I thought, wow, that is how this guy's a City of University of New York professor on a prestigious news channel. And he's essentially saying that they're going to murder me if I ever come into their neighborhood. So that is definitely a problem that everybody needs to be aware of, that they do want to literally murder us, and the fake news media does want us dead. And they are trying to incite violence against everybody listening and watching.
And they are. And it's a weird cult of betas and bureaucrats and people that hijack the country that feel totally entitled, who are looking for some rite of passage war or moment. This is the war of the peaceniks. This is the war of the trendies. This is the counting coup coming of age by a bunch of mentally ill basement dwellers worshiping a god, Hillary Clinton, that called them, homeless or baristas living in their mother's basement. And so it really is a group of idiots doubling down into an ideology that doesn't even support them or doesn't even care about them, and trying to destroy a reboot of America and a return to prosperity. These are the most pathetic idiots I've ever seen.
Well, they grew up reading Harry Potter, and that's the only world that they know is Harry Potter. What they don't understand, though, is they are actually Voldemort. They are the death worshippers. They are the people who want pedophilia normalized. They are the people who support the Hollywood pedophiles and will not allow people in Congress to have hearings into pedophilia in Hollywood and the abuse of child actors. They're the ones who fight it. So the American people are waking up. Why is NBC afraid of that? Why is the fake news media afraid of you going on NBC? I'll tell you why. Because they know that you trounced Megyn Kelly, and even with their deceptive editing, the American people are going to watch that and think, wow, I want to be a patriot. I want to be part of this movement. I want to go to Infowars.com. Who's this Alex Jones? Everybody in the media knows this. And that is
that's an important question. I thought a day or so ago, before it was the top story in the country, except for Sessions, it's on the top two, that maybe it was some inside hype to get everybody to tune into her show. But now she's losing sponsors. She's having to apologize. She's putting statements out demonizing me. It appears they're really afraid of what I said. The truth was, she interviewed me for 4 hours off and on all day, the rest of my crew. If she can't make me look bad in 11 minutes, that's her fault. But they are deathly afraid, as if, oh, don't legitimize him, as if it legitimizes me to be on one of their shows with 6-7 million viewers. I mean, you routinely have videos that get 6, 7, 8 million viewers. We reach millions a day. Don't they understand we don't need them anymore?
Yeah, we were doing them a favor, actually, and that's why people said, well, why did Alex go do that? And I said, because he's a fighter at heart, and he wanted to show people that he will trounce the media. But you and I, we blow off more media than most people ever have, because it doesn't really do any good for us. But that said, they do want to keep you off NBC, though, because they do know that the American people are awakening. Even ABC is trying to do a new show that's kind of pro-Trump with Roseanne in it. I don't know if you've recovered that yet.
No, Roseanne's been on. I know she's a Trump supporter because she sees he's changed. And expanding on that, Kelly lied to me. She said, oh, I really like you. I'm obsessed with you. Tried to flirt with me. I knew it was all fake. I said it was fake to her to her face. I said it on air. I want to eat dinner with you. Oh, I totally robotic once she got here. They lit me from underneath like I was a jack-o'-lantern. It was ridiculous. And then now she's saying, oh, he's horrible. Oh, he's evil. Please let me air this. I promise I heard him, which just shows how they eat their own system wants censorship so bad it wants to try to drive her into submission or have some victory on their own Gorgon. When again, I threw the gauntlet back. I said, listen, I don't need you. Sure, censor it. Because for one reason, she took me out of context. I could tell they're manipulating it. So why not piss back in their face? But then I realized, second point, they're doing this on Father's Day. And now they're saying on Father's Day, he attacks the children. On Father's Day, he says Newtown didn't happen, which they've taken out of context. I looked at all the elements. They ignore what I actually said, saying I believed it probably did happen. Well, I said that years ago. So I get they've built this straw man. So then why are they so scared of it airing, Cernovich?
Well, they know your charisma. They can't overpower it. Megyn Kelly is a cardboard cutout. These people have no charisma. They have no fans. If they went into a room the people are not excited to see them. They're dead inside. And the reason they're turning on Megyn Kelly is because a death cult can never be satisfied when they see life, and they want to destroy everybody and everything. And so eventually they always turn on themselves. But she has no presence. That interview with Putin, she looked like she was ready to dance on the pole. I was humiliated as an American. The idea that this is a representative of American journalism, and we're going to send her here with, a slit going up the middle of her leg, ready for the pole and everything, and you're interviewing a powerful presidential person. As an American, I was ashamed that Megyn Kelly was representing us, but that's all she has. Maybe she can flash, like the Basic Instinct kind of thing. That's
well,
really
by the way, it's funny because she literally, I've not been a big topless bar guy, but in college, I went to a few. And it's very disconcerting when a woman saddles over, oh, baby, I really like you. Oh, give me $20 and sits on your lap and then runs off right after. That's how it felt. She would turn the charm on, turn it off. She was very robotic and very cold, except when she turned it on. But still, it was like a plastic, sign or neon. I mean, she was beautiful in a way, but it was totally a facsimile, and every instinct I had recoiled. But when she talked about Putin with me at dinner, she goes, I go, what'd you think of Putin? She goes, oh, intriguing. Oh, he's very, she actually flushed and like looked down. I was like, and I think it was the power of Putin really shook her up. And she legitimately was gushing over him and kind of wiggling around in her seat, almost having an orgasm.
Yeah, it's the charisma power. She works around beta males in the media all day. So when she's around someone like you, someone around Putin, she can barely, I mean, I know that everybody's going to take that out of context, but she can barely contain herself. She becomes like unrestrained.
Let me state this clearly, colleagues.
Trump,
I have never met with.
She had for Trump and the way she was drawn into his charisma. Everybody watching that who knows anything about people knew that she was so hot for Trump, and that was why she would trip over her words and couldn't keep it straight. So I'm sure when you guys were talking, she was stumbling over her words frequently, I bet.
Well, Mike, thanks for stopping on the side of the road to call into the show and join us. I appreciate you doing that. We're going to play a few more clips of Sessions, but Comey literally perjured himself, leaked, blew up last week. I'm not putting a good face on it. If it's negative, I'll tell you. People used to call him Mr. Gloom and Doom. We're just having so many royal flushes here. It's amazing. And then now Sessions dominated and destroyed, except for halfway in, they kept saying, tell us about your private conversations. Well, it's an attorney-client privilege between the attorney general and the president. It's well known that they always exert executive privilege preemptively before the president does, and they don't talk about private conversations with the president. I know that just from following news for 25 years. They're acting like Sessions is lying, claiming that long-standing Justice Department policy for 200 years.
Well, and let's not forget that Eric Holder was held in contempt by Congress. Where was the media for that when Eric Holder was held in contempt by Congress?
And Susan Rice, and they refused to testify. Imagine, these guys are all coming in. They're saying, I'm the lawyer of the president. I'm not going to tell you attorney-client privilege. He represents the president. He's exactly, Cernovich, exactly. It is exactly. We forget all the crimes of the Clintons, of Obama, of them all refusing to testify, and then here comes Sessions with such an open face, destroying them. I mean, he was so, it was devastating. What do you think?
That's exactly right, and that's why they hated him so much, because that, to the American people, is an honest man. Everybody watched that. They saw Comey. Comey's such a beta. Oh, I was afraid. I didn't have the courage to stand up. I didn't have the courage to take on the Clintons. Eric Holder was held in contempt of Congress because he was such a fraud, and the media, of course, covered that up, didn't want to cover that. Fine, Susan Rice has now told the lawyer, she's not going to testify at all. She's lying dishonest. Loretta Lynch hiding out, Bill Clinton hiding out. And then America got to see a good, God-fearing man, and that triggers the media more than anything because of their nihilism and their Satanism and their hatred for all that is virtuous and good. And
that's
clean.
Right. And Sessions 3 times killed open borders when he refused the Senate orders not to release bills. This is the most patriotic guy out there. I mean, we know he does not buckle. He's totally by the book to basically an OCD level. So that's why he got really pissed when he said, how dare you say that I'm colluding with the Russians and I'm holding back stuff? That is outrageous. And then the best thing they've got is him like 60 feet away from the Russian ambassador at Trump's first foreign policy speech when they invited all the foreign ambassadors and all the foreign leaders. I mean, it's just amazing. Mike Cernovich, thank you so much. Any other points?
Well, I mean, that's the thing about Sessions. If I had a criticism of him, it's that he's too much of a square. I wish that he played dirtier and had never recused himself, because that's what an ethical, God-fearing man would do. But he realizes he's in a den of vipers. So my criticism of Sessions, he's too law and order. He's too much of a square. He never should have even recused himself, because you can't be honest with dishonest people.
Well, that's right. He's like, sure, I'm not involved in this stuff. I'll recuse myself. And they use that against him and say he didn't do it early enough. Mike Cernovich, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Powerful. Can't wait to hear that guy every day, 5 days a week here with his own show. Soon, we're getting the folks hired. We're building the studios. We're launching it. It's coming. Sending all the equipment so our hosts have better HD audio. Big things happening at Infowars.com. Let's go ahead, just because it was so powerful. I want to air Sessions versus Senator Ron Wyden one more time. Then Sessions, Tom Cotton, how Mayflower meeting is BS. Sessions, Kamala Harris, and then Sessions' opening statement. And that's going to go right into the nightly news live with David Knight in T-minus 31 minutes and 20 seconds. But here's that first video clip one more time.
You stated you received only, quote, limited information necessary to inform your recusal decision. But given Director Comey's statement, we need to know what that was.
We need to know.
Were you aware of any concerns at the FBI or elsewhere in government about your contacts with the Russians?
Welcome to
or
McDonald's.
any other matters
May I
relevant
help you?
to whether you should step aside from the Russian investigation?
Senator Wyden, I am not stonewalling. I am following the historic policies of the Department of Justice. You don't walk into any hearing or committee meeting and reveal confidential communications with the President of the United States, who's entitled to receive confidential communications in your best judgment about a host of issues, and have to be accused of stonewalling for not answering them. So I would push back on that. Secondly, Mr. Comey, perhaps he didn't know, but I basically recused myself the first day I got into the office, because I never accessed files. I never learned the names of investigators. I never met with them. I never asked for any documentation. The documentation, what little I received, was mostly already in the media and was presented by the senior ethics, public responsibility, professional responsibility attorney in the department.
General,
and I made a honest and proper decision to recuse myself, as I told Senator Feinstein and the members of the committee I would do when they confirmed me.
General Sessions, respectfully, you're not answering the question.
Well, what is the question?
The question is, Mr. Comey said that there were matters with respect to the recusal that were problematic and he couldn't talk about them. What are they?
Why don't you tell me? They are none, Senator Wyden. There are none. I can tell you that for absolute certainty. This is a secret innuendo being leaked out there about me, and I don't appreciate it. And I've tried to give my best and truthful answers to any committee I've appeared before, and it's really people are suggesting through innuendo.
That's right. That's Comey. All right. Now we got the nightly news coming up live, and David Knight's got to get ready. It's hard to come in and do an hour of live TV. He's got to get in the studio and get his clips ready, because part of it is tape, clips. So we're live right now, folks. 6:31. Tonight's coming in like 28 minutes. So let's get ready here. Let's go to Senator Tom Cotton, how Mayflower meeting is BS. I mean, it's like you're at the foreign policy speech, and there's hundreds and hundreds of ambassadors there. They go, look, he's 50 feet away, the Russian ambassador. You didn't mention that you were at a meeting with him. It's like, Jones, one day you walked by a bank robber who'd been convicted 20 years before, and we have a photo of you at a sports stadium with him. This is ridiculous. So here is Sessions and Tom Cotton.
So a very simple question that should be asked is, Did Donald Trump or any of his associates in the campaign collude with Russia in hacking those emails and releasing them to the public? That's where we started 6 months ago. We have now heard from 6 of the 8 Democrats on this committee, and to my knowledge, I don't think a single one of them asked that question. They've gone down lots of other rabbit trails about that question. Maybe that is because Jim Comey said last week, as he said to Donald Trump, that on 3 times he assured him he was not under investigation. Maybe it's because multiple Democrats on this committee have stated they have seen no evidence thus far after 6 months of our investigation and 11 months of an FBI investigation of any such collusion. I would just suggest, what do we think happened at the Mayflower? Mr. Sessions, are you familiar with what
he dropped a dookie in the stall?
A little bit.
Tom Cotton just savaged their narrative.
And dead drops and brush passes, right?
That is part of it.
Do you like spy fiction? John Le Carre, Daniel Silva, Jason Matthews?
I'm surprised they don't ask Sessions if he took a crap. Did you crap in the Mayflower? What color was the crap?
No. Yes.
Have you ever, in any of these fantastical situations, heard of a plot line so ridiculous that a sitting United States senator and an ambassador of a foreign government colluded at an open setting with hundreds of other people to pull off the greatest caper in the history of espionage?
Thank you for saying that, Senator Cotton. It's just like through the looking glass. I mean, what is this? I explained how, in good faith, I said I had not met with Russians because they were suggesting I, as a surrogate, had been meeting continuously with Russians. I said I didn't meet with them. And now the next thing you know, I'm accused of some reception, plotting some sort of influence campaign for the American election. It's just beyond my capability to understand, and I really appreciate
Hillary lost.
Chairman, the opportunity at least to be able to say publicly, I didn't participate in that and know nothing about it.
And I gather that's one reason why you want to testify today in public. Last week,
yeah, the
Mr.
Democrats
Comey
won't. Okay, we're done with that clip. Because I got to combine these two to give David some time to get in here ready and do the live show with Infowars Nightly News. It'll also be streamed to everybody. PrisonPlanet.tv viewers get HD. They get all the films. They get a lot of other stuff, but they're helping pay it forward to be able to fund this operation. PrisonPlanet.tv members, so folks on Facebook, Twitter, Google, YouTube can all see it for free. So please spread those videos as they go out to everybody. I'm going to combine Sessions and Kamala Harris arguing with Sessions' opening statement to give David Knight some time to come in here and do the show. Great job to the crew. Lord willing, I'll be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central, with the Wednesday global transmission. But that concludes my live coverage here on the 13th day of June 2016. Ladies and gentlemen, I work for America. I work for you. I work for my children. I work for prosperity. I work for honor and duty. And the Russians, quite frankly, can't run their own show. It is an insult to all of us that the Russians won this election. The Infowars won the election. Infowars won the election. The resistance to tyrants and creepazoids like Senator Ron Wyden, look into him, man. You talk about, creeper vans. We are here resisting a group of scum that hijacked the country while we were asleep, but the sleeping giant is awakening. So here is more of Sessions in his powerful opening statement, and then look for feeds at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com as David Knight comes in and gets ready for a whole live hour that nobody else is doing with the skeleton crew of true patriot-based, where our bias is telling the truth and promoting freedom. So that's all coming up. I'll see you back tomorrow. Now, back to Sessions and then David Knight.
I'm sure you prepared for this hearing today, and most of the questions that have been presented to you were predictable. So my question to you is, did you then review with the lawyers of your department, if you as the top lawyer are unaware?
Oh, not how did the election get hacked by Russians? That's not your big question?
What you cannot share with us. What is privileged and what is not privileged?
We discussed the basic parameters of testimony. Frankly, have not discussed documentary disclosure rules.
Will you make a commitment to this committee that you will share any written correspondence, be they your calendars, records, notes, emails, or anything that has been reduced at any point in time in writing?
Why didn't you make that same demand of Comey, Harris? Why didn't you make that same demand of Comey, Harris, who's a known leaker?
Rules of the department, and as and when that issue is raised, to respond appropriately.
Did you have any communications with Russian officials for any reason during the campaign that have not been disclosed?
Same question.
In public or to this committee?
I don't recall it, but I have to tell you, I cannot testify to what was said as we were standing at the Republican convention before the podium where I spoke.
My question is only as it relates to your knowledge.
I don't have the detailed memory of that.
Okay, as it relates to your knowledge. Did you have any communication with any Russian businessmen or any Russian nationals?
I don't believe I had any conversation with Russian business.
Hillary Clinton and John Podesta did. That's on record. That's on record.
We're at the convention. It's conceivable that somebody.
You stay classy, Kamala Harris.
You let me qualify it. If I don't qualify it, you'll accuse me of lying. So I need to be correct as best I can.
I do want you to be honest.
And I'm not able to be rushed this fast. It makes me nervous.
I got news for you, Kamala Harris. We're going to wipe that smug look off your face when we defeat you in the next round of elections. I'm telling you, folks, we have to drain the swamp. We have to remove these people from office. It's on us to vote for the right people so that wastes of space like Kamala Harris and Ron Wyden won't be wasting our time and taxpayer dollars with these witch hunt hearings. I'm sick of this crap.
With any officials.
We got real issues going on here, Kamala. Hillary Clinton actually colluded with Russia on record, and John Podesta. You're questioning Jeff Sessions, the same question he's been asked 10 times for the last year. Ugh!
Of the possibility of whether or not Russia and the United States could get a more harmonious relationship and move off the hostility.
Let me tell you something.
The Soviet Union did, in fact, collapse.
It's not Russia
it's really
that is a threat to this country. It's not Russia that is undermining this republic. It's people like Kamala Harris who bring fake news into an official Senate committee hearing. That's who the swamp is, folks. That's who's undermining our republic. That's the threat to this nation. Democrats like Kamala Harris who use fake news and political witch hunts to undermine this country and this republic. And to brainwash people into thinking that there's anything here with Jeff Sessions. I'm sorry. Let's go back to Kamala Harris, the true member of the swamp, the true threat to this republic.
DOJ policy. Can you tell us what policy it is you're talking about?
Well, I think most cabinet people, as the witnesses you had before you earlier, those individuals declined to comment because we're all about conversations with the president.
Sir, I'm just asking you about the DOJ policy you referred to.
Policy that goes beyond just the Attorney General.
Is that policy in writing somewhere?
I think so.
So did you not consult it before you came before this committee, knowing we would ask you questions about it?
Well, we talked about it. The policy is based...
Did you ask that it would be shown to you?
The policy is based on the principle that the president...
Sir, I'm not asking about the principle. I'm asking when you would be asked these questions and you would rely on that policy.
Yeah, you know what, Jeff? I would literally just say, you know what, I'm done talking to you.
That would be the basis for your refusing to answer the majority.
Just shut her down. Just say, you know what? Thanks, Kamala. We're done.
Senator Chair to control the hearing. Senator Harris, let him answer.
Please do.
Kamala Harris is like Maxine Waters 30 years ago, folks. We have to stop this creature before she reaches more power.
One that I have some appreciation for, as having spent 15 years in the Department of Justice, 12 as United States Attorney, and that principle is that the Constitution provides the head of the
Just look at the look on Kamala Harris's face, folks. Look, I'm telling you, I know my psychology. That is the look of a woman who is obsessed with herself. She's not even listening to Jeff Sessions. She is literally not even listening to Sessions right now. All she's doing is thinking about how great she is. All she's doing is thinking about how, yes, I'm getting my political agenda across. Yes, I'm doing it. Yes, I'm Kamala Harris. I'm on TV. Makes me sick.
For a yes or no, did you ask
So the answer is yes, I consulted.
Did you ask your staff to see the policy?
Expired.
Apparently
Senator
not.
Cornyn.
Thank the Lord.
You were at the Mayflower Hotel in Trump's first foreign policy speech that was full of ambassadors of the whole world. But they don't say that. They say, you were there and you didn't report it. And he's like, Well, yeah, it's a giant room full of 10,000 people. We have the photo, ladies and gentlemen, of where the ambassador is and then where Sessions is. This is the crazy level. It's like if I went to a football game and they said David Duke was there at the football game with you, but then he's like 100 yards away. I'm now a David Duke supporter. This is the way they manipulate the public. It is incredible. It's beyond a nothing burger. When you see this, and they just keep pushing and pushing because it's all they've got. The American people voted for Trump. Hillary was a corpse. She was hated. Here it is in Rob Dew's Twitter. I'm going to retweet it at Real Alex Jones. We need to get this out to everybody. There's Jeff Sessions. It's the first big foreign policy speech. It's a huge room full of people. You got Paul Manafort right here. And then you've got the Russian ambassador. And you've got Democrats, Republicans are all, oh my gosh, here's Sessions, 50 yards away or whatever. This is just the craziness of this country. And then that's catching him in a lie, being with the Russians. I mean, Putin made the joke a few weeks ago talking to Megyn Kelly that I've spent less time with people involved with Trump than I've spent with you. I've spent less time with General Flynn. So if General Flynn was fired over being at a dinner with me that was public, then you should be arrested, Megyn Kelly. But enough of that. I'm not even defending Trump here. If the public doesn't know a lie, doesn't know brainwashing when they see it, and if the public wants to have the deep state overthrow the country and crash the stock market, make everybody poor to control everybody, that's their admission, that's their plan, then you deserve what you get. Here is Senator Sessions' opening testimony. You won't see this unless you share it with people, because they're only going to take little clips and stuff out with zingers of Sessions was caught at a meeting with Russians. He didn't disclose because he didn't even know. It was a public policy speech with the Republican nominee. I'm Alex Jones. This is the Infowar.
Thank you very much, Chairman Burr and Ranking Member Warner, for allowing me to publicly appear before your committee today. I appreciate the committee's critically important efforts to investigate Russian interference with our democratic processes. Such interference can never be tolerated, and I encourage every effort to get to the bottom of any such allegations. As you know, the Deputy Attorney General has appointed a special counsel to investigate the matters related to the Russian interference in the 2016 election. I'm here today to address several issues that have been specifically raised before this committee. And I appreciate the opportunity to respond to questions as fully as the Lord enables me to do so. But as I advise you, Mr. Chairman, and consistent with longstanding Department of Justice practice, I cannot and will not violate my duty to protect the confidential communications I have with the President. Now let me address some issues directly. I did not have any private meetings, nor do I recall any conversations with any Russian officials at the Mayflower Hotel. I did not attend any meetings at that event separate. Prior to the speech attended by the President today, I attended a reception with my staff that included at least 24 people and President Trump, though I do recall several conversations that I had during that pre-speech reception. I do not have any recollection of meeting or talking to the Russian ambassador or any other Russian officials. If any brief interaction occurred in passing with the Russian ambassador during that reception, I do not remember it. After the speech, I was interviewed by the news media. There was an area for that in a different room, and then I left the hotel. But whether I ever attended a reception where the Russian ambassador was also present is entirely beside the point of this investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 campaign. Let me state this clearly, colleagues. I have never met with or had any conversation with any Russians or any foreign officials concerning any type of interference with any campaign or election in the United States. Further, I have no knowledge of any such conversations by anyone connected to the Trump campaign. I was your colleague in this body for 20 years, at least some of you, and and the suggestion that I participated in any collusion, that I was aware of any collusion with the Russian government to hurt this country, which I have served with honor for 35 years, or to undermine the integrity of our democratic process, is an appalling and detestable lie. Relatedly, there is the assertion that I did not answer Senator Franken's question honestly at my confirmation hearing. Colleagues, that is false. I can't say colleagues now. I'm no longer a part of this body, but former colleagues, that is false. This is what happened. Senator Franken asked me a rambling question after some 6 hours of testimony that included dramatic new allegations that the United States intelligence community, the U.S. intelligence community, had advised President-elect Trump, quote, that there was a continuing exchange of information during the campaign between Trump's surrogates and intermediaries for the Russian government, close quote. I was taken aback by that explosive allegation, which he said was being reported as breaking news that very day, and which I had not heard. I wanted to refute that immediately. Any suggestion that I was part of such an activity, I replied, quote, to Senator Franken this way, quote, Senator Franken, I'm not aware of any of those activities. I have been called a surrogate a time or two in that campaign, and I did not have communications with the Russians, and I'm unable to comment on it. Close quote. That was the context in which I was asked the question, and in that context, my answer was a fair and correct response to the charge as I understood it. I was responding to this allegation that we had met, surrogates had been meeting with the Russians on a regular basis. It simply did not occur to me to go further than the context of the question and to list any conversations that I may have had with Russians in routine situations, as I had many routine meetings with other foreign officials. So please hear me now. And it was only in March, after my confirmation hearing, that a reporter asked my spokesperson whether I had ever met with any Russian officials. This was the first time that question had squarely been posed to me. On the same day, we provided that reporter with the information related to the meeting that I and my staff had held in my Senate office with Ambassador Kislyak, as well as the brief encounter in July after a speech that I had given during the convention in Cleveland, Ohio. I also provided the reporter with a list of 25 foreign ambassador meetings that I'd had during 2016. In addition, I provided supplemental testimony to the Senate Judiciary Committee to explain this event.
You are watching the Senate Intelligence Committee Jeff Sessions hearing on Infowars.com and the Alex Jones channel on YouTube.
In any one of those meetings. Let me also explain clearly the circumstances of my recusal from the investigation into the Russian interference with the 2016 election. Please, colleagues, hear me on this. I was sworn in as Attorney General on Thursday, February 9th. The very next day, as I had promised to the Judiciary Committee I would do, at least at an early date, I met with career department officials, including a senior ethics official, to discuss some things publicly reported in the press that might have some bearing on whether or not I should recuse myself in this case. From that point, February 10th, until I announced my formal recusal on March 2nd, I was never briefed on any investigative details, did not access any information about the investigation. I received only the limited information that the department's career officials determined was necessary for me to form and make a recusal decision. As such, I have no knowledge about this investigation as it is ongoing today, beyond what has been publicly reported. I don't even read that carefully.